welcome the fact that once again all parties have agreed to a motion calling on the Government to actively seek the release of information held by the British Government relating to the Dublin Monaghan bombings and the 3 related Barron reports. And these include the inquiry into the bombing of Kay's Tavern in Dundalk, in which Jack Rooney and Q Waters were killed, and the murder of Seamus Ludlow. I also want to welcome the commitment in the new programme for Government to pursue the implementation of the Dáil motions calling on the British Government to do what is right. However, achieving this will require more than rhetoric. This government, like the last Fianna Fáil-led government, is actually in breach of its obligations, particularly in the case of Seamus Ludlow. The Ludlow family have been compelled to take legal action to force the government to act on the Barron recommendations following the failure of 2 governments to do this. And the Taoiseach acknowledges the work of the Barron Commission, and today he declares that addressing the needs of victims and survivors is at the core of the government's approach. But yet the government refuses to act as Justice Barron has recommended. The Dublin and Monaghan bombings were indeed catastrophic. 34 citizens died, 27 here in Dublin, 7 in Monaghan, and I want to extend my solidarity and sympathies to the victims and survivors of all these incidents and to all of those who lost their lives or who were injured in the course of the conflict. And they do deserve, every one, there can be no hierarchy, justice and truth. And I want to commend in particular, given the day that's in it, the Justice for the Forgotten campaign, the Pat Finucane Centre, and Relatives for Justice for their hard work on behalf of victims, and welcome advocacy groups here today, and they have our full support. The British state has never been open or honest about the role its intelligence services played in unionist death squads engaged in the murder of innocent victims, but it's now accepted as a matter of fact that collusion was policy and administrative practice, and this was also acknowledged by the subcommittee of the Cross-Party Joint Oireachtas Committee on Justice, Equality, Defence and Women's Rights. But despite all of this, the British Government has consistently refused to cooperate. And it isn't just in respect to murders that occurred in this state, but also those that occurred in the north. But speaking of those that occurred in this state, this is the 25th anniversary of the murder of Eddie Fullerton. He's a very good friend of mine. I want to once again express continued solidarity to his wife Dina and to their family. The British Government refuses to give information in its possession into the murder of Eddie, and our government has been remiss in supporting the family in their quest for justice. The government has also failed to establish the public inquiry, the government in London that is, into the murder as agreed at Weston Park 15 years ago, into the murder of human rights lawyer Pat Finucane, and is thwarting at this moment the North's Lord Chief Justice's effort to hold legacy inquest. So this isn't just a passive British government, this is an active effort to thwart efforts to get to the truth. So it needs to be matched with a positive outreach by the government here. The refusal to fund legacy inquests, to fund investigations, are all in clear breach of international human rights obligations. The effort to block families having access to files which are held in public archives. These are held in public archives, but the government in London closes them down. So, as a co-equal guarantor of the Good Friday Agreement, our government must use all of its resources, all of its diplomatic services, its access to scores of international bodies, including the UN. And I don't have any hope that this motion today will have any impact whatsoever on the government in London. And like those that have occurred before, the debate will be ignored. However, and I've said this many times to the Taoiseach, and I've said it to Taoiseach before you, going back a very long time, a consistent strategic engagement by the government with the British government and the use of the political media and international opportunities which are available to us can make a difference. Like, for example...
Deputy, are you sharing 5 minutes?
Yeah, no, by McCricknahanish. For example, has the government made arrangements for an initiative with the media in Britain on the back of this particular motion? Have we even done that? So it's time for us to act as the rhetoric which is often used when we debate these issues implies. We need action, not just rhetoric. Go to Margaret.